Okay girls, so this is a quick screencast on how to use the darkroom. As you'll see by the image there, I'm just using a PowerPoint that I have. So it might be small, sorry. That's what we're just going to deal with today. This is the darkroom door. You're only allowed in it if you do photography, and it's definitely locked at all times unless we've got a class exercise that we're doing in there. You need to remember there are some rules to do with the darkroom. Okay, so this is inside the darkroom, and you'll see we have down the sides is our dry area, and that is our enlarger bays. They have electricity, so we need to be careful and no water goes in that area. And down the middle is our sink area, and that is the wet area. That is where all the chemicals, and obviously it's wet, so you need to be careful and not transfer that to the outside area, the enlarger bays. The rules for the darkroom, the major ones, are you need to remember to knock before entering, definitely no food, and you've got to clean up after yourselves. You'll see on the sink area there's all those white patches. That's actually chemical residue. Once the water's dried down, it's something that you don't notice until things are dry, so that isn't actually a mess. So this is what the darkroom looks like when the red light is on, and it's only safe for your darkroom paper, which is that plastic emulsion paper that I showed you the other day, when the red light is on. So these are the major rules that you need to be aware of. The darkroom chemicals are toxic, so you don't want to use your hands to transfer a photograph when out of the chemical trays. You need to use tongs. If you do get a chemical on your hand, it's not a major incident because they're basically just like a really dilute vinegar, but you need to wash them off, and they do stain and they do smell. So this is the enlarger. These were the things that are running down the sides of the main darkroom. This is what is used to project an image onto a piece of photographic paper. Basically, it's a really big flash light bulb. Within the top, you have the actual light bulb, and you are able to make your image bigger or smaller because you put a negative inside the negative carrier. For your photograms, you're not going to be using a negative or anything. You're just literally going to be using it like a big light bulb. So as you see that yellow light, that's the light coming down. You will need to remember that you're going to have to pull the enlarger head up. So that's that big bit up the top, and there's a winder at the back to do that. You put your hand on what is called the baseboard, the white block of wood down the bottom, and you wind it up. This will make your image bigger, and you will need to focus it, and that will mean you'll get a nice crisp sharp edge to the light source. So these are enlargers that we have at school. So you'll see that white area down the bottom, that's the baseboard, that's what you need to put your hand onto. The tray that's pulled out of this here, the enlarger head, is where a negative goes into. That's not what we're going to be doing. But in, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you would have been doing darkroom printing of photographic negatives. So you would have been using this system. So underneath here, this is where the light is projected out of. That circular part where you see the numbers around it, that's the aperture. With that, you can turn it left and right, and it will increase the strength of the light coming through, or the amount of the light coming through, or decrease it. You'll also notice there is a little red, what's called a safety filter. So when you turn your enlarger on, it's white light, so it's not safe to put photographic paper underneath it because you'll expose it and make it go dark. What you can do is you can put the safety filter over where the light comes out, and that means that you can put your photographic paper down and it will be protected. You can put your composition on, and then you turn the enlarger off, take the safety filter away, and you can do your exposure. So this is showing, it's actually little numbers that you can see and can't see. Generally what I talk about is you turn what's called the aperture ring, that's that circular part with the little areas which says under rigor or whatever it is. I turn it down by clicks. Okay, and I usually say go to the fullest, the brightest it can be, and go 2 stops down, which is 2 clicks down. And this is the basics of what aperture is. Aperture is the amount of light coming through a hole, okay, a large hole versus a small hole. So these are your timers. You guys have electronic timers, which is awesome. The only thing you need to remember, which is the really important ones, is on the left-hand side is your on-off button. On the right, that big red button is the countdown timer, and that's really important. When you do a countdown timer, once you start it, if you stop it again, the timer where the numbers are will blink at you, and that's telling you you haven't finished the countdown. So you're going to have to push countdown again and let it roll through and complete it. You can't basically delete that time that you're using and reset it. So this is the chemical processing that we use. You have the first thing that you do with your exposed to light but undeveloped piece of paper is you put it in the developer. It's in the white tray and you put it in for a minute. It will be expired when it goes a dark tea colour. We won't need to worry about that. All our chemicals are fresh, and by the time we're finished doing our little bit on photograms, that's when we'll need to replace them. Stop does exactly what it says, stops. So stops the developing process. So when you put your image into the developer, you'll see an image coming up. It goes from a white piece of paper to black with a range of tones, and hopefully you'll see an image. You need to stop it so it stops it going any darker, and that's when you put it in the stop. You leave it in there for a minute. It's still light sensitive at this stage. Okay, so you can't turn on any lights until you put it in the fix. Fix is when it makes it okay for it to be exposed to white light. It needs to stay in there for 2 minutes. If you don't keep it in for 2 minutes, over time your image will start going yellow and also funny purpley bluey type colours. It's basically sensitive to light. From there, you have to wash it, which I haven't put on there, and you need to get all the chemicals off. We do that for 5 minutes. When the safe light is on, this is when you do all of your getting ready, putting the photogram objects down, getting your paper, and you need to remember that only when the safe light is on is your paper safe. So if you have your enlarger on, it's the white light. As soon as you put your paper down, you're going to wreck it. So you've always got to put the safety filter over. Okay, so this is your exposure. When you do exposures, we're always going to do it for 5 seconds. I'm going to step you through this step by step. We'll do it as a class and it will be really, really simple. Okay, so there we go with the process again, with the washing. And then we have the important thing after the washing, which is your drying. So your drying, we're going to squeegee it. We also are lucky enough that we don't need to just hang our images to dry. We have what is called the dryer. It's like a big industrial print drying machine, and it rolls through your image and it ends up dry on the other side. So that's basically what we do.